Good afternoon, everyone. Very warm greetings from New York, which is where I'm today. For those of you who are joining from the West Coast, good morning. And people in Europe, good evening. And for those of the enthusiastic audience, hopefully there are some of you from Asia. Thank you so very much for your special effort to be awake so late in the evening. So thank you very much for joining. My name is Raja Rajamannar, and I'm the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of MasterCard. And I have written this book called Quantum Marketing in 2021, which became a Wall Street Journal bestseller, now published in 13 languages. And I was just told last time when I was doing my LinkedIn Live, I got news that the Arabic version of my book will be published. And this time it is the Spanish version, which is getting published out of Latin America. So very delighted about it. And I challenge in the book a lot of traditional tenets and principles of marketing and how we need to reinvent and reimagine marketing for this new fifth paradigm of marketing. As an extension of it, I started writing Quantum Marketing Sense newsletter. And now it has got about 140,000 subscribers. I'm grateful for that. And also, I started doing LinkedIn Live, such as today's session. And I've also gone to Bloomberg TV, which has already broadcast 4 episodes of Quantum Marketing with Raja Rajamannar. And that's, again, been a fantastic experience and a great reception from people from all around the world. So today, the topic is pretty fascinating. 5 years back, or maybe 6 years back, I was not at all into esports. And I thought that was meant for either the overgrown nerds or the very, very young teenagers who don't know what to do with their lives. And however, when I started diving in deep into the space, I was totally stunned with a kind of statistics, with a kind of audiences which were actually involving themselves in esports. And I never considered esports to be a spectator sport, but it was actually under live events happening. And it has become a true global phenomena, rivaling some of the top traditional sports. So that was very exciting. And MasterCard, we became the first global sponsor of the world's #1 esport, which is League of Legends, way back in 2018. And now League of Legends is in its 15th season, and they're adding more games and there are more events. And what an exciting and an incredible momentum that they have got. Now, this is a completely new space for many marketers. And I thought it would be really helpful to see how we can connect through the medium of esports into different parts of the audiences, into different audiences, different segments of audiences, whether it is not just the teenage folks, but also all the way up to middle-aged folks who are all involved in following this sport. So with that, it is my absolute pleasure and privilege to invite John Needham, who is the president of Publishing and Esports at Riot Games. And as I said, he is my 24th guest. John is responsible for integrating publishing, esports, international operations, and even music to create immersive experiences. He has joined Riot in 2017 as managing director of Europe and North America, and he led the rebranding of League of Legends European Championships. And he has experience with some large companies in the past, like Microsoft, Sony Pictures Entertainment, and so on. So, John, a very, very warm welcome to you, and thank you very much for making it here.
Raja, thank you so much for having me. Excited to be here today.
Awesome. So let's kick it off. So firstly, to sort of establish the facts and the factoids that demonstrate that esports and gaming are not just those fringe activities or fringe avocations. It's fantastic to see that gaming revenues are today bigger than the combined revenues of all of music and all of movies. And I believe the number in 2023 was about $26 billion. And there is undeniable popularity that transcends age, gender, race, and culture. So, question for you. Why does it resonate with such a vast swath of audiences across various segments? Give some insights into this.
Yeah, thank you, Raja. Great question. So I think several things have really contributed to the popularity of esports, the rise of streaming and VOD platforms, the accessibility that these platforms offer have made it really easy for our fans to find the content like esports associated with the games that they love. Our broadcasts are available for free on these platforms. And this accessibility has also made esports uniquely global compared to most traditional sports. We think this really stokes nation-based pride and fandom and really engages our fans in a much more deeper and personal way. Second, we're seeing gaming around the world moving to the center of culture. If you go to Asia, gaming is already a core part of culture there, specifically in China or Korea or Japan. In the West, gaming is not as core to culture, but I see it moving more and more to mainstream. We see all these great TV shows and movies now coming out based on games. So as gaming becomes an important part of culture, so too does esports and the demand to watch the best gamers compete. And finally, and I think I find this very interesting compared to traditional sports, as the number of gamers grows dramatically in the world, they look to esports to learn how to play the games that they love better. Over half our viewers watch esports for education. We lean on education in our broadcasts. They can be quite technical at times, but our hope is that players try to incorporate some of what they learn from esports back into their gameplay. So we talk a lot about the power of the watch, play, watch loop in our game experiences. We want fans to be inspired by esports and then go back and play the game. At the end of the day, that's the outcome that we're hoping to achieve with esports, that more players play our games longer.
So tell me one thing. You mentioned about learning and the
Yeah.
educational component. Is it about, say, I'm a spectator, I'm going to watch the educational session. Is it for me to become a better gamer, or is it to use sports or gaming as a route to teach me about some topic? Maybe I want to learn about AI, I want to learn about financial inclusion, or I want to learn about something else. So just elaborate on that a little bit, John.
Yeah, Raja, we like to keep the focus on the games and having fun and learning about the game. So all the educational pieces in our esports broadcasts are really focused on how our players can kind of engage and understand the competition that's happening in the esport.
Fascinating. In fact, at MasterCard, one of the things that we have done, which I feel really good about, and to your point, where the gaming is really intense in Asia, for example, and it is a little
Yeah,
lagging in the Western markets. So we launched something called the MasterCard Gamer Exchange. And where what we are trying to do is if you have points on your credit cards or debit cards or air miles or hotel points, you can redeem them for in-game currency across a whole bunch of thousands of games in, I believe, about 70 or 80 countries around the world. So that has actually fantastic traction. And I can see how there can be kind of infusion of other things into gaming to make the whole gaming experience even more enriching, even more engaging, and highly immersive. Now, you talked about streaming
yeah.
and how streaming and the aspects of social media have dramatically increased or have contributed to the growth of esports in a big way. Can you just talk a little bit more about that? And I'll tell you why I'm asking this question.
Great.
I tried my best to watch Twitch. Now, there was something happening. I'm trying to figure out what's happening on the screen. On the right side, there were comments going 1,000 comments a minute. And I just didn't know where to look at. I said, look, somebody has to teach me. There's an art of following Twitch, and it is not just sitting in front of it and doing it.
Right.
But that's on a lighter vein. But I'm sure it's one of the most popular platforms, and it's doing exceptionally well. So tell me about the role of streaming and social media as far as esports growth is concerned.
Well, I'll start with Raja. If you think it was challenging to watch on Twitch, you should watch esports on streaming platforms in China. the chat scrolls across the screen.
Oh,
And very quickly, your eyes learn to adjust to the different layers, and you can focus on both. But it's very alarming at the beginning. But look, in a lot of ways, gaming is social media. A lot of what we do is we try to connect and build communities virtually. And as I mentioned, the accessibility of streaming and VOD platforms has really offered our fans a great way to engage with our esports. But our growing audience, it's young, it's connected, it's social, it's playing games, it's watching tons of gaming content. And we always want to be where our players are, and that's on streaming platforms. We are having a ton of fun experimenting with short form video, with vertical feeds as our audiences move over to services like TikTok and Instagram Reels. We're also increasingly opening up our esports broadcasts for streamers and influencers to give our fans different ways to engage with our esports. And the way this works is we give our biggest influencers our official broadcast feed. We allow them to talk over that feed, to have their friends over and have watch parties. And these influencers have huge audiences. Our most popular streamers like Kadril and Doublelift in League of Legends, like Tens and Tarek in Valorant, they have millions of followers. And they bring viewers that we wouldn't normally have to esports. So co-streamers have become so important to our broadcasts. We now host them at our live events. We set up these streamer pods in our venues. We invite them out. They sit in the audience with thousands of other streaming fans, and they stream from our events live. It really just adds a ton of energy to the experience. Half of our viewership now of our esports comes from these influencers and from these co-streamers. It's a really powerful part of our broadcast. And it allows us also to reach countries where we don't broadcast in their native language because we'll just get an influencer to do the cast for us.
that's pretty fascinating. At one point in time, when we were contemplating our entry as MasterCard into the sponsorship of League of Legends, and we were having discussions with Riot Games, it was fascinating that the first thing that Riot Games cautioned us is as a brand, if you come into that space and try to sell something,
Yeah,
immediately the fans will throw up.
yeah.
They say you need to understand the native etiquette and the behavior in this whole ecosystem and adapt yourself. And I think your team has been incredibly helpful in educating us, guiding us step by step, so much so. Now, League of Legends is one of our most productive sponsorship assets that we have also gone ahead and sponsored the Valorant game as well. So
Yeah.
we got out too with Riot Games, League of Legends, and Valorant, and it's working brilliantly. So, from your perspective, when you look at brands and the brand play, do you see brands rushing into this space, or do you see that there is going to be a gradual entry, or are brands still outside and are a little hesitant to jump in?
I think for most non-endemic brands, it's still an educational experience, learning about esports, learning about our community. And as you mentioned, Raja, and thank you for that, we try to work with brands to collaborate on what we can do great for players first and foremost. That's the core part of how we approach partnerships. We just want to do really cool stuff for our players together. And your partnership with us over the years, you are a presenting partner in our opening ceremony. It's one of our most important beats of the year. Having that authentic way of kind of incorporating your brand in with what we do and doing it in an unobtrusive way to our players is core. It's just all about authenticity. It's all about sharing values around servicing our players and doing cool things for our players.
Yeah, and I think it's such an amazing opportunity for brands, particularly because, again, you might want to just throw a little bit of light on this as to what would be the scale of esports in terms of, for example, if either on an event basis or an annual basis, how many people, for example, on League of Legends or on Valorant are watching and following or engaging?
Yeah, we had over 50 million people tune in to watch Worlds finals last year, which was just incredible to me. Um, that means we are bringing in players who are not currently playing the game. They are still following the esport, and it's another benefit of the esport. Even when a player stops playing our games and they're playing other games, we still have a way, a connection to them to, in the future when we have new games or we have a big exciting update to our core games, we have a method that we can bring them back to play with us.
Awesome. Now, you have a fairly small role at Riot Games. You are overseeing marketing. You got all creative, which is not a small thing in itself, in
Yeah.
the context of sports, and you also have music. Now, how do you bring all of these areas together into esports, and how do your campaigns tie back to the games?
Yeah. I love this stuff. We really geek out on how we can bring together all of our capabilities to do big things for players. When I took this role, we coined the term pub sports as a term to describe my organization. It's the combination of publishing and esports together. At a high level, both teams really have the same purpose at Riot. We want to amplify big game moments. We want to increase engagement in our games, and we want to create culture. Culture is what we talk about all the time. We leverage esports, music, animated TV series, incredible CGI trailers, and a bunch of other assets to really deepen our relationship with our players. We want to make them feel like we get them, we know the things that they love in their life, we get their culture. So, our goal at the end of the day is to graduate our players to be fans, fans of Riot, fans of our games, to self identify as a fan of ours. Riot invest more than any other game publisher around our game and in our players. It's a big part of our success. It's a big part of why we're unique in the industry. So we leverage all these around game capabilities that we have and we bring them together around big beats in our game calendar to create special moments for our players. So in last year's Worlds, this is our League of Legends World Championship. We do an opening ceremony. It's kind of our version of the Super Bowl halftime show. There was a rock band, Linkin Park. They performed in our opening ceremony. By the way, it's presented by MasterCard. Thank you, Raja. They performed a song, Heavy as the Crown, live in our opening ceremony. This
Wow.
song was also featured in season 2 of Arcane, our animated TV series. This was all synchronized with Arcane content that went into League of Legends, the core game. And we had other Riot games that also had Arcane content built into it, like Teamfight Tactics, and Valorant also had some Arcane thematic content. So we lit up our entire ecosystem around the launch of Arcane. And I think we're going to talk about the success of that in a little bit. So I'll save that. But our players absolutely loved it. In Valorant, another example, in Valorant, we've unveiled a few new agents for the game at major esports events and tied those agent stories back to the event's host city. So this past February, our first international event for Valorant this year is called Masters One. We hosted it in Bangkok. And right before finals, we unveiled a new agent for Valorant. This agent's called Waylay. Waylay is a Thai agent. So when we unveiled this in this big arena full of Thai people cheering like crazy for Valorant, and then we gave them a Thai agent, they went crazy. It was really awesome to be there. And then we do other things, Raja, like we create virtual music groups like KDA. It's a K-pop group that's really popular with our fans. True Damage, a hip hop group. Pentakill, a heavy metal group. That's my favorite. But the members of these virtual groups are all from the League of Legends universe. And when we introduce these groups, we'll do music videos around them. We'll have them perform at Worlds like Linkin Park did. We use a lot of augmented reality. So we've got a bunch of technical ways we can incorporate the champions, a lot with other live performers. And then we have in-game events and content as well to support these bands. These are big moments that our players love. They allow us to expand our IP into music and culture and really give players other ways to connect with the game. And they all create lasting touch points for our players that not only highlight our game IP, but they're emotional moments that bring our IP to life in a meaningful way for our players.
For traditional marketers who are grounded in all areas traditional, this
Yeah.
whole space seems like a cult. It's right somewhere out there, right? And that's exactly how I felt at the beginning. But the more you start learning about it, you really see how similar they are to the traditional areas, right? Formula One has its own cult,
Yeah.
so to speak,
They are great at this as well.
right? They do a brilliant job. Now, each
Yeah.
one of these areas that might seem a little different than what you're used to, whether soccer or tennis or cricket or these kind of standard, mainstream sports, so to speak. But the other areas which are growing, like exactly this esports or F1, it's pretty fascinating. You talked
Awesome.
about Mike Shinoda, not Mike, you talked about Linkin Park.
Yeah.
So Mike Shinoda from Linkin Park
Yeah.
is actually he created the electronic dance music version of our Sonic sound, of our Sonic brand. This is way back in 2017 or around that time.
I
So
did
it
not
was
know that.
yes, so we have some commonality out there, and he did such a fantastic job on
He's
that.
an awesome guy.
He is phenomenal. So that's one other point of intersection which I just sort of discovered. Now, going back to your Netflix series of Arcane, right? It
Yeah.
received critical acclaim. It's absolutely amazing, and it was bringing fans and the players together in very new ways, very many
Yeah.
new ways, right? And what does its success mean for gaming crossing into these new mediums? Like, for example, the advent of Drive to Survive
Right.
actually gave a huge boost and lift to F1.
Yeah.
What has Arkane done for you?
Yeah. I mean, our fans have really loved Arcane. Season two of Arcane debuted at #1 on Netflix last November. It reached the global top 10 English TV list in 91 countries,
Oh,
which
wow.
just blows my mind. Yeah. And across both seasons, Arcane spent a total of 15 weeks in the top 10 English list. So it was very successful from a viewership perspective. We also saw a lot of increases in our active player levels for months after Arcane. The series had a tremendous impact on longtime League of Legends players, and it even reactivated a group of players who had gone on to play other games as well, which we loved. As I mentioned before, with Linkin Park and Worlds, we leveraged the release of Arcane as a major Riot moment. It drove some great results in music and with our partnerships as well. The season two soundtrack has amassed over 1.2 billion streams now, which is our biggest ever. We set partnership records with more than 50 licensing partners, including globally renowned brands like Fenty Beauty, Hot Topic, Uniqlo, Funko, Casetify. But all the accolades aside, Arcane, it's just beloved by our players, which at the end of the day is what really matters to us. And one of the things that we hear from players is how Arcane gave them the chance to share the world that they love so much with the people around them. And I had this experience. It was really fun to sit and watch the series with my wife, who has never played League. She is not a gamer. She loved the series, and I loved her that much more for loving it.
Oh,
So,
wow.
yeah, it was really awesome that way.
Uh, you know, as I said, my core theme in marketing is all about quantum marketing, which is you have to be disruptive. You have to do
Yeah.
things in a very different way, right? The traditional methods of marketing, including advertising, have to change. Many of the times, my own personal experience, I find that advertisements are very, very intrusive. They're annoying.
Yes.
And if you're watching a nice video and every 5 minutes, if you are being interrupted, that's not fun.
Right.
Now, one of the things that you are doing is pretty fascinating, which is having these integration into esports, including your in-game arena broadcasts. And this is like reaching consumers without any disruption at all. It feels so organic, so blended in.
Yeah.
And it's one of those examples of quantum marketing, as I see it, where it is that immersive experience, that kind of an engagement which is very organic, very contextually appropriate that truly matters, and you are really practicing it. And
Yeah.
that was one question which I wanted to see, which is if you can elaborate a little bit more on that particular point, it'll be great.
Yeah, sure. I mentioned earlier, we try to work with brands to present them very authentically and unobtrusively in our esports broadcasts. It's very important because our gamers are sensitive to that. It's got to make sense in the overall experience. And frankly, it's a delicate dance working with a partner to find natural integration points that really don't disrupt but enhance the experience while still driving awareness for the brand and showcasing our partners and how they support our sport. So Rift banners were really a great way of integrating brands directly into our game. So on our Rift, we have little signposts everywhere, and we'll have brand flags essentially that are on there. It's a really great way to put brands into the game world. We took a lot of inspiration when we developed that from the around field brand integrations that you see in football or soccer for all the American viewers, or what the NBA now is doing with integrating brands right onto the floor,
Yep.
the basketball floor. So these days, it's just becoming a very acceptable way to integrate brands into a sports experience. It's now kind of endemic to that experience. It looks weird when you don't have that. We do another thing with our esports, and we will brand specific moments in the competition, high moments in the competition with the brand as well. We have this big dragon. He's called Baron Nashor in League of Legends. This dragon's very powerful, so teams really can't take it on towards the end of the competition. When they do, if they can defeat it, they will get a big buff, a big surge of power. So it's a really important objective in the game. We branded this the Red Bull Power Play.
Oh,
And now this has kind of become ubiquitous with that moment, the Red Bull Power Play. So, like we've been talking about today, authenticity, unobtrusiveness, featuring a brand and special moments of the game that are positive, big positive moments are ways that we have found to be very effective in partnering with brands and presenting them in our broadcasts.
so in fact, what you articulated just now is an excellent summary of how we look at our marketing in this day and age, which is about being experiences led as opposed to advertising led.
Yeah.
And these experiences are unique. They're very relevant. They're highly compelling, very memorable.
Yeah.
So that when you go through that experience, there is a very powerful set of emotions and feelings that you go through.
Yes.
You connect the brand very strongly in a positive way to those positive experiences. So a lot of it is actually, so I keep saying that, at my company, MasterCard, we pivoted a lot away from traditional advertising into experience-led marketing activities and marketing strategies. Now, in order to do that, from your side, what is your talent approach? What kind of talent? Because I'm looking, you got music, so you need people who understand music.
Yeah.
You got gaming, you have got that. You got events, so you need to have people who are able to manage events. So how do you look at very broadly in terms of, how does your talent look like?
Yeah. I mean, look, the gaming community is very diverse. As I mentioned, it's very international. Specifically to esports, we try to represent our players with what you see on screen, with our casters, with the bands that we bring uh, to do a performance in our opening ceremonies. We want to reflect back our audience. We want to reflect back the international nature of our game. So we work a lot to make sure that we have a lot of diversity in our broadcast, and it's both in front of the camera and it's also behind because um, uh, we do a lot of, hive mind kind of creative, how we're going to do our shows. And you've just got to have a diversity of inputs and experiences to really present a show that's going to resonate with a good chunk of your audience. So that's where we really focus talent-wise, Raja. It's how can we best represent the community that plays our game with the broadcasts that we do around our esports.
Fantastic. Now, the other thing I wanted to mention was that, like I said at the beginning, when you think of gaming, people's perception is these are all youngsters.
Yeah.
These are all either teenagers or of that kind of a profile. And but the profile is anything but. It's very broad based, and I was actually surprised at the level of, like for example, successful executives in their 30s and even early 40s. They are heavily involved in esports, and they spend a good amount of time and, of course, a good amount of money too.
Yeah.
Uh, in terms of ensuring relevance across the generation of fans, including the new generation as well as the so-called senior generations in
Yes.
the entire demographics. How do you ensure and how do you keep evolving your strategies to connect with all these folks?
Well, Raja, I'm 56 years old and I self-identify as a gamer, so it's stretching even beyond the
Even
40s,
beyond.
let me tell you. Yes. Um, but look, this is our challenge, right? It's we believe in really building forever games that are future-proof. Um, we continue to invest in the game and updating the game every other week with new content, trying to keep our games really modern looking for a new audience. But the reality is, players' tastes constantly evolve. Expectations are always high for anything that we produce and put out in the world. And we say that this is another thing we say all the time. We are always trying to blow our players' minds all the time. So we have to stay ahead of this fast evolving tech landscape, which, we see as a constant opportunity and also a big challenge. And the only way I think you can be successful keeping up with the different generations constantly evolving is you've got to, as a company, have a willingness to take big creative risks, to take big swings to thrill and engage your audience. So at Riot, we really try to establish an internal culture with a high tolerance for creative risk taking. This goes all the way from pub sports to our game development. We learn about our players' needs with every asset that we put into the world, every update that we do to our games. And even when we fail, and we do fail a lot more than we like, we try to take some learning out of it. So hopefully the next big swing we take will be that much better. So it's mostly about being brave, being bold with everything that we produce in and around our games.
Got it. Now, we have done some studies, right? And we came to the conclusion that there are about 20 areas in people's lives that are that they are very passionate about.
Yeah,
And we at MasterCard decided to focus on about 10 of those 20 passion points, like music, movies, arts and culture, fashion,
yeah,
sports, and so on. Now, when you already have started developing right now, you have got music
yeah,
as one passion. You have got sports, esports in this case. You also have got the movies with your Arcane in
yeah.
the and on Netflix, etc. Any other passion points you think or you are looking at? If it is confidential, you don't have to tell us. But if you're able to reveal anything, it'll be just fascinating to see which other passion points you think you are going to tap into.
Yeah, I mean, look, I think merch and merchandise is a core part of culture. I don't think we've really cracked into that space in a really scaled big way. So we have a young, growing merchandise team right now that we're trying to find ways that we can work with other brands around doing special, gear that people can wear and express their fandom for our games and for our esports. So I think that's one. We've done the animated TV series with Netflix. We are looking at more long form content and entertainment as well and seeing how we can bring that to life. We have a really high bar for quality. And again, I'll just keep saying it, like authenticity and really delivering on what we think our games are about. So it may be quite a while before a long form piece of entertainment gets out into the world, but we love movies. We know that's an important part of culture. We will get there one day.
Got it. Now, as you look forward, already the entire space has evolved so significantly to where it is today.
Yeah.
When you look into the future, where do you see the opportunities, or what is the big vision around this?
Oh man. So as a gamer, I see so many exciting possibilities integrating AI into games, and we are starting to think about how we do that from a content perspective. I just can't wait to see what game makers do with this technology. I think it's going to lead to games that have much richer worlds, that have much more engaging characters in those worlds. And I'm just really excited to see because, game makers, they love technology. This is one that they're going to leverage to the fullest extent to make great games. In esports, I'm really excited to see more nations-based esports competitions. Our games are very international. League of Legends was in the Asian Games a couple years ago. It was the most watched event by our demographic in those games. And now we have the Olympics coming. And I think I mentioned this in the beginning. I see this national based fandom around our esports being a really great way for us to kind of deepen our relationship, deepen the fandom around our sport, and hopefully grow it. So those two things are things that I'm very excited about.
Now, you have spent time with Microsoft, gigantic
Yes,
company, fantastic company. You
great
also
company.
spent with Sony Entertainment,
Yeah.
which is again another phenomenal company with a great track record. How did it feel to shift from such large companies to something which is really in a very different sphere, which is esports? It doesn't seem like a very obvious transition. It's a big leap that you have taken. Can you just give some thoughts around that?
Yeah, so when I first got into gaming, I was a CFO at Sony Online Entertainment in San Diego. It was a massively multiplayer online game company. We had a game that was one of the more popular games in the industry at the time. It was called EverQuest. And I learned so much about servicing players because it was a subscription-based business. So it was all about engaging your players over long periods of time and keeping them subscribed. What I loved about that experience was we had Sony Online Entertainment was its own studio within Sony Pictures. Sony Pictures didn't know what to do with a gaming studio. So they kind of just left us alone with this product EverQuest. And we were a tight-knit family around this game. We played games together. We spent endless hours working with our players, making the game better, the game of EverQuest better, making new games. And it was just a culture that was built around the love of games. Now, I've been at other big companies, that culture isn't as strong. Coming back to Riot, it's kind of coming back to my SOE days. Our culture is very much rooted in just loving games. We are all gamers. At work, we go home and we play games. It's a lifestyle to us. We love it.
Got it, got it. I know it fascinates me. You are a CFO and you are doing the marketing talk so
Yeah.
authentically phenomenal. I love it. I absolutely
Raja,
love it.
I love this industry so much. I have worked at every part of it, from CFO to business development, platform, making games, QA, customer service, marketing and publishing, you name it. I've done it because I love it. I love it.
That's fantastic, and the energy is very, very evident. Now, I don't end any interview or discussion without asking my favorite question. What is priceless to you?
Oh, great question. Well, I'll just segue off of what I just said. Look, I'm a gamer. Being able to build a career in an industry I'm genuinely passionate about, that's a lifestyle to me, is priceless. Being in a position where I can produce crazy things for game players is priceless to me. And working at a company that is such a meaningful part of so many players' lives is priceless. And Raja, of course, our partnership with MasterCard is priceless. Thank you for your many years of doing great things for our players. And I've just loved being here today. Thanks.
Thank you very much, John. In fact, this is something which we also feel incredibly proud of, this entire partnership. And we have, as I said, we found it so productive and so effective for us that we even went to now go on to a second game, which is Valorant, right, from League
Yeah,
of Legends. So we got two now. So we are all in, and we are totally, totally committed. So which
love
is
that.
phenomenal. So, John, thank you so much again. Really appreciate. And one day, hopefully, you'll inspire me enough that I take up gaming on my own very seriously. Right now, I enjoy it from a distance and for a few minutes at a time, and that's about it.
All
So,
right.
in any
We'll work
case,
on that, Raja.
We should work on that. But thank you so much. And to all our listeners and viewers, thank you very much for being here with us today. I would love to get your